Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Elizabeth Holmes. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham died early Sunday morning. His cause of death, a ruptured aorta, according to a medical examiner's office. Before coming to WRAL, NC Capitol reporter Caroline Yaffa covered Senator Graham extensively. She spoke with WRAL executive producer Scott Nagel about her experience and his impact on South Carolinians.
Caroline, before you came to WRAL at the beginning of this year, you were a political reporter for the state of South Carolina. Tell us a bit about that experience and your experience and interactions specifically with Senator Graham.
Yes, so I worked in South Carolina for over a year, and I covered South Carolina politics from the legislature to the governor to state agencies to lawmakers in D.C. like Senator Graham himself. I interviewed him several times, went to several different events that he was at. The last time I actually saw him and interviewed him was in October of 2025, which was less than a year ago. And it was a press conference where he talked with the Sheriff's Association of South Carolina, as well as other members of law enforcement about working with ICE and immigration and that partnership. He was with the governor, and I know he has a very good relationship or had with Governor Henry McMaster, which will be important in this future.
Tell me about some of your impressions of him.
Yeah, he was always very great to work with. He was always very available to the media, always doing interviews, traveling across South Carolina. He was from and born and raised in rural South Carolina and loved his constituents. And every time I met him, and saw him, I could feel his love for the state and for policies in general. And his staff was amazing to work with as well, very responsive, and he had a lot of people who worked with him for 20 plus years, which I think is just a testament to who's at the helm of that.
And you've been in contact with some of his people today, haven't you?
Yes, so I built very strong relationships with several of his staff members, and I texted one of them this morning. We were in communication, just expressing my condolences for their loss. I know it was sudden and hard for them, I imagine, and they responded to me saying thank you and that they will reach out if they need anything.
Senator Graham is a high-profile politician on the national stage. Everybody knows him, but I imagine he looms much larger just in the state of South Carolina. What was his impact in South Carolina?
I mean, as I mentioned, he traveled all across South Carolina talking to constituents, not only in Charleston, but in Pickens, where he's from, but also in Columbia. He was always traveling around trying to listen to what people really cared about. He was a champion with farmers, he was a champion with agriculture and different policies. And I think every time I spoke with him, he always stressed the importance of bringing what the people in South Carolina wanted to DC, which I think is just a true definition of what his job was, but he really went above and beyond with the international policies of it all.
Well, his death comes as such a shock, both nationally and in the state of South Carolina. What does this mean, first of all, for politics on the national stage and also then directly in South Carolina?
Well, first of all, on the national stage, Senator Graham was on Capitol Hill for over 2 decades. So he really was very influential in D.C. in the Senate. I think that this is a huge loss for Senate Republicans, especially. I think he was the budget chair for the Senate. So he had a huge role in where the money goes and funding packages, especially this upcoming week. Todd Blanche is trying to be confirmed to be the next Attorney General. He's on the Senate Judiciary Committee. So he was a vote for Republicans. That was a guaranteed vote to push Todd Blanche through that they're obviously not going to have. So that could be a make or break. I think Republicans this week were also trying to pass a funding package for their priorities, and they're not going to have his vote on that. So I think there's different things that really the Republican Democrat party lines in DC, it's changing because it's 52, I believe, Republicans and now 47 Democrats. So the numbers are shrinking.
Senator Graham was not without his critics, especially where Trump is concerned. He used to be a staunch opponent of Trump, And then not only has he become one of his biggest supporters, some people think his interactions with him are pretty obsequious now. He's been called a Trump toady by his opponents and critics. What did he think of that, and how did he reconcile that?
I mean, I think it's no secret that several politicians who are now in favor of President Trump disagreed with him in the beginning. J.D. Vance is one of them, the vice president, as well as Senator Graham. He criticized the president, especially before he started running for office. So in 2015, I believe he ran against President Trump in the Republican primary for president. So he criticized him very much. But I think something that they aligned with a lot was their foreign policy practices. Both of them are very big supporters of Ukraine in this Ukraine-Russian war, as well as Israel, recognizing Israel as a Jewish state and having strong relationships with the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as the Ukrainian President, Vladimir Zelensky.
How does South Carolina move forward with Graham's passing?
Yeah, I mean, Governor McMaster has to appoint somebody to fill Senator Graham's seat. So Senator Graham just won his primary in June. So he was supposed to be living out his term that ends in December, and he was running against a Democrat in November. So it's urgent for Republicans in the Senate, in the U.S. Senate, to get somebody quickly to replace him. And then after Governor McMaster appoints somebody to replace him, then there's going to be a special election for somebody to be on the ballot against that Democrat in November to fulfill his seat. And there's a lot of people who could be considered like people who lost in the gubernatorial race, like Nancy Mace or the current lieutenant governor who got President Trump's endorsement. So you never know who could be coming in, or could they bring somebody new in? You don't know.
Well, now that we've moved past all of the ramifications of all of this, just on a personal note, what was your feeling about Graham? What are some of your just parting thoughts about him?
I think going back to who he was as a person, I think from also watching so much coverage of this today, but also engaging with him in South Carolina, he was always kind to the media. He always took questions, always. He stood firm on where he stood, but also let people challenge him. He wasn't afraid of those accountability questions. He had a fantastic staff who was so easy to work with, so engaging. They were with him for 20 plus years, some of them, which I just think is a really true testament to who he was as a person. And everyone in South Carolina really spoke highly of him that I interacted with, and not only Republicans. He had a very strong friendship with President Biden, President Obama, President Bush. Obviously, President Trump says he considers him as a family member. I think that is just a testament to who he was.
Caroline Yaffa, thank you so much for your insights today.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the WRAL Daily Download. You can find more of Caroline's work on the NC Capitol page of our website, WRAL.com. And you can find more podcasts like this wherever you listen. That includes Spotify and Apple Music. Just search WRAL Daily Download.